I was just a junior analyst, smart, careful, invisible. He was the boss, ruthless, commanding, and untouchably powerful. The kind of man who never asked. He ordered. And one evening, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're coming out with me tonight." That's not a request. That one sentence flipped my entire world upside down. I thought I was just another employee. I never expected to be the woman who'd uncover the secrets behind his cold exterior, or fall dangerously, hopelessly in love with the man who could destroy everything I'd built. Because when your boss plays with power, love might just be the biggest game of all. It was a typical Monday morning in New York City. The streets buzzed with honking horns, the scent of fresh bagels wafted from every corner bakery, and office workers rushed through revolving doors with coffee cups in hand. At Blackwood & Co., one of the most prestigious marketing firms in Manhattan, the atmosphere was no different, except, perhaps, a little more intense. Emily Carter adjusted her blazer as she stepped out of the elevator onto the 23rd floor. Her heels clicked against the polished marble floor, the sound sharp and confident, though her nerves begged to differ. She was 5 minutes early, as always, and already mentally reviewing the CEO's calendar for the day. "Morning, Grace Miller," her bubbly best friend and colleague, waved from her desk just outside the executive conference room. "Morning, Grace," Emily smiled. "Everything quiet so far?" Grace rolled her eyes playfully. "Quiet as a graveyard until he walks in." Emily followed her gaze to the end of the hallway, where the private elevator chimed. The door slid open and out stepped Nathan Blackwood, the CEO himself. 6'2", dressed in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, and with the kind of commanding presence that made an entire floor pause. Nathan walked with the confident, focused gait of a man who didn't have time for nonsense. His dark eyes were unreadable, his jawline sharp, his hair effortlessly styled. Emily had worked under him for almost a year now, and she still hadn't figured him out. He was brilliant, demanding, and emotionally distant. But today something was different. "Emily," Nathan said as he approached. She stood straighter, holding a notepad at the ready. "Yes, Mr. Blackwood? Clear my schedule after 5, he said, not breaking stride. Emily blinked. That was unusual. He never changed his schedule last minute. "Understood. Should I reschedule your meeting with the Southbridge team?" "Yes." "Push it to tomorrow." He paused, then turned to look at her directly. "And you'll need to be ready by 6. I'm taking you to dinner." Emily stared. "I'm sorry?" "Dinner, 6 o'clock. Dress appropriately." With that, he walked into his office and closed the door behind him. Grace's mouth dropped open. Did I just hear what I think I heard? Emily was frozen, her mind scrambling to process what had just happened. "I think my boss just asked me out." Grace laughed. "Correction. Your boss ordered you to go out with him." "Girl, what is even happening?" Emily spent the next few hours in a daze. Every time she passed Nathan's office, her heart pounded. He didn't usually engage personally with employees outside of work matters, especially not junior ones like her. What could possibly be the reason behind this dinner? "Maybe it's a business dinner," she muttered to herself as she typed up an email. Grace leaned over her desk. "Business dinners don't involve dress appropriately and mysterious rescheduling." "You heard that, Emily." Everyone on the floor heard that. The entire room practically froze. Emily sighed. Her phone buzzed. A calendar invite. "Dinner, Nathan Blackwood, Vertical Bar, 6 p.m. Vertical Bar location. Confidential." She stared at it. Was this really happening? At 5:30, she clocked out and went to the restroom to freshen up. She had a change of clothes in her locker, just in case she needed to attend a last-minute event. She slipped into a navy blue knee-length dress and swapped her flats for black heels. Her hair was already neatly tied into a low bun, her makeup subtle and professional. When she stepped out, even Grace did a double take. "Okay, wow. You look incredible." Nathan's not going to know what hit him. Emily rolled her eyes but smiled. "Wish me luck." A sleek black town car was waiting for her outside the building. The driver opened the door and nodded. "Miss Carter?" he asked. "Yes, that's me." Nathan was already inside, scrolling through his phone. He looked up briefly as she slid into the seat beside him. For a moment, his gaze lingered on her. "You look appropriate," he said coolly. Emily wasn't sure whether to take that as a compliment or not. "Thank you, Mr. Blackwood." He turned back to his phone. "Nathan, we're outside the office." "Right. Nathan," she repeated awkwardly. The car pulled away from the curb, merging into the evening traffic. Emily glanced at him sideways, still trying to figure out what this was about. "May I ask where we're going?" "To dinner," he replied, not looking up. She cleared her throat. "Yes, but why?" This time, he put the phone down. "You've worked under me for 11 months, correct?" "Correct. And in that time, you've been punctual, efficient, and extremely competent." "Thank you. I have a new project launching next month. I'll need a personal liaison, someone I can trust, someone who understands how I operate. I'm considering you for the role." Emily blinked. "Oh, I didn't know." "You wouldn't. I don't announce these things. But before I assign the position, I want to understand how you handle situations outside of your comfort zone." "So, this dinner is a test?" He smirked, just slightly. "You could call it that." Emily let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Okay, that made a little more sense. But still, why the secrecy? Why not just call it an evaluation meeting?" The car finally pulled up to a quiet, upscale restaurant tucked away on a quiet street in the West Village. It didn't even have a sign, just a discreet black awning and a single valet. Inside, the atmosphere was refined, dim lighting, warm tones, and soft piano music. Nathan seemed to be well known here. The maitre d' greeted him with familiarity and led them to a private booth near the back. Emily glanced at the menu. There were no prices listed. "Don't worry about cost," Nathan said. "Just order what you want." She nodded and chose a grilled salmon with lemon risotto. Nathan ordered the same. Once the waiter left, the silence stretched between them. "So," Emily said cautiously, "what does a personal liaison do exactly?" "It's a flexible title. You'd be attending high-level meetings, overseeing client presentations, coordinating directly with me. Essentially, you'd be my shadow." "That sounds intense." "It is. But I wouldn't consider you if I didn't think you could handle it." His expression remained unreadable, but his eyes didn't leave hers. Emily felt the heat rise to her cheeks. "I appreciate the opportunity," she said. "I haven't offered it yet," he replied, though there was a trace of amusement in his voice. She smiled slightly. "Right." The food arrived, and for a few minutes, they ate in silence. It was strange, Nathan Blackwood, the untouchable CEO, sitting across from her like a normal person, even if his posture remained rigid and composed. Then, unexpectedly, he asked, "Why marketing?" She blinked. "Pardon? You're smart. You could have gone into finance, tech, medicine." "Why this?" She hesitated. "Because stories matter. And marketing is just storytelling, understanding people, knowing what moves them." "I like that." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Good answer." There was another pause. "And what about you?" she dared to ask. "Why Blackwood & Co.?" He chuckled softly. "I didn't have much of a choice. My father started the company. I took it over at 27 after he had a heart attack. Didn't expect to be a CEO so soon. I didn't know that. Most people don't. I prefer it that way." His voice had softened just a little. Emily saw a flicker of something human behind the usual mask he wore. She decided not to push further. The car ride back to her apartment was quiet but more comfortable this time. Emily leaned against the leather seat, watching the city lights blur past. When they arrived outside her building, Nathan got out and opened the door for her. "I'll let you know my decision by the end of the week," he said. She nodded. "Thank you for dinner." He looked at her for a moment, then added, "You surprised me tonight, Emily." "Oh, you're not just competent. You're sharp, composed, and not easily intimidated. That's rare." "Is that a compliment?" "Don't let it go to your head," he said with a faint smile. She laughed, stepping onto the sidewalk. "Good night, Nathan." "Good night, Emily." As the car pulled away, she stood on the curb for a moment, heart racing, cheeks flushed. Had she just been on a job interview or something else entirely? Tuesday morning at Blackwood & Co. felt heavier than usual. Emily Carter walked through the glass doors of the firm, her bag slung over one shoulder, and a million thoughts swirling in her head. Her dinner with Nathan Blackwood the previous night had felt like something out of a dream, Formal, but somehow personal, professional, yet strangely intimate. She'd spent the rest of the evening trying to dissect every word, every glance, wondering if she had misread the entire thing. Was it truly just an evaluation dinner? Or something more? The moment she reached the 23rd floor, all heads seemed to turn toward her. "Good morning," she offered politely, trying not to make eye contact with the small group of coworkers whispering by the water cooler. Grace was already at her desk, a grin stretching across her face. "You're officially the talk of the office," Grace whispered, sliding over in her chair as Emily sat down. Emily rolled her eyes. "What now?" "Oh, I don't know. Maybe the fact that our cold, brooding CEO took you out to dinner in a car that costs more than my yearly salary? It was just a dinner," Emily said, voice low. "Girl, please. Nothing is just a dinner with Nathan Blackwood. He barely acknowledges our existence unless it's work-related." Emily booted up her computer. "He said he's considering me for a liaison role." Grace's eyes widened. "Wait, seriously? That's huge." "I know. Well, do you want it?" Emily paused. "That was the question, wasn't it?" "I think I do," she said slowly. "But I don't know what comes with it." Before Grace could respond, the phone on Emily's desk rang. It was the internal line from Nathan's office. Emily swallowed. "Yes, Mr. Blackwood? Come in," he said, then hung up. Grace gave her a thumbs up as Emily stood, straightening her blouse. Nathan stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the skyline. When Emily entered, he turned. "Close the door." She did. "I've made my decision," he said without preamble. "I'm appointing you as my personal liaison effective immediately." Emily felt her breath hitch. "Thank you," she said, surprised by how calm her voice sounded. He gestured to the chair opposite his desk, and she sat. "There's a conference in Chicago this weekend. High-profile clients, strategic planning, some investor meetings. You'll accompany me." "Understood. You'll handle travel logistics, coordinate my schedule, and take notes during closed-door sessions. It's going to be long hours and fast-paced. You still interested?" "Yes." Nathan studied her for a long moment. "Good." He slid a folder across the desk toward her. "Everything you need is in here. Flight details, hotel info, client briefs. We leave Friday." Emily nodded. "I'll prepare." Nathan leaned back in his chair. "And Emily?" "Yes, I don't tolerate gossip. Keep our dinner quiet." Her cheeks warmed. "Of course." Dismissed. As she stood and walked out, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken a sharp left turn. Emily sat in the break room, sifting through the thick conference folder, highlighting key names and scheduling notes. She was so absorbed that she didn't notice Jordan Lee until he sat down across from her with a cup of coffee. "So," he said, "you're the chosen one now." She looked up. "Excuse me?" Jordan smirked. He was the firm's second most talked about executive, charismatic, always dressed like a model, and not nearly as serious as Nathan. "Word travels fast," he said. "Liaison to Mr. Blackwood? That's no small thing." "I suppose not. Don't worry, you'll do great," he said, sipping his coffee. "Just don't let him chew you up. He's intense." "I've noticed," she replied. Jordan leaned forward, voice softer. "You know, I was once in that position. For about 3 months. Emily's eyes widened. "You were?" "Yeah. It didn't end well. He expects perfection. Doesn't tolerate mistakes. But if you can handle it, it'll open doors you didn't even know existed." Emily nodded slowly. "Thanks for the warning." He winked. "Not a warning. Just advice." Emily sat on the couch with Grace, takeout boxes open on the coffee table. "So now you're flying to Chicago with the most mysterious man in Manhattan," Grace said, mouth full of noodles. "Are you nervous?" "A little," Emily admitted. "But more than that, I'm curious." "Curious?" "I've never seen a man so tightly wound. He controls everything, his tone, his time, even his emotions. But last night, for like 5 seconds, I thought I saw the real him." Grace raised an eyebrow. "Oh boy. You're in dangerous territory." "I know. That's why I'm not reading into it. It's just work." "Sure, just work. And I'm the Queen of England." The private jet was sleek, quiet, and impossibly luxurious. Emily sat across from Nathan, who was reading through a thick file, his tie already loosened. "This is definitely not economy class," she muttered. He glanced up. Get used to it. The flight to Chicago was 2 hours. Nathan barely spoke, and Emily focused on reviewing the weekend's itinerary. When they landed, a black SUV took them straight to the hotel, the Langham, one of the city's finest. Their rooms were on the same floor. Dinner in 1 hour, Nathan said as the elevator doors opened. Wear the black dress from Monday. It suits you. She blinked, caught off guard. You remembered? He gave her a sideways look. I remember everything. The dining hall was filled with top-tier executives, venture capitalists, and power players in the marketing world. Emily stayed close to Nathan, introducing herself when prompted, observing everything. He was a master of the room, controlled, deliberate, confident. But now and then, he'd lean in and ask, "What do you think of that pitch?" Or "How would you reframe that?" She answered honestly, and to her surprise, he listened. At one point, an investor leaned toward Emily and said, "You're lucky to work with Nathan. He's not easy, but he's loyal. And if he trusts you, you're already 10 steps ahead of the game." She nodded, unsure how to respond. Later, as they rode the elevator back to their floor, Nathan finally spoke. You handled yourself well tonight. Thank you. You spoke when necessary, listened when appropriate, and stayed sharp. Emily smiled. Sounds like a compliment. He didn't smile back, but his eyes softened. It is. An hour later, there was a knock at her hotel door. Emily opened it cautiously. Nathan stood there, hands in his pockets. Everything okay? She asked. I shouldn't be here, he said. But I wanted to say something. Emily stepped aside, letting him in. I've built my life on control, he said slowly, pacing the room. On order. Structure. But the more time I spend with you, the more I feel that control slipping. She stared at him, heart racing. I don't know what this is, he continued. And I won't pretend it's appropriate. But you're not just another employee, Emily. Not to me. She swallowed hard. What are you saying? He moved closer. I'm saying this might be a mistake, but I'm not sure I care anymore. And just like that, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I need to know if I'm alone in this, he said. Emily didn't speak. Instead, she stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. You're not. Nathan's fingers brushed her jaw gently. For a man known for his precision and poise, there was something uncharacteristically vulnerable in the way he looked at her now. I shouldn't be here, he said again, voice lower this time. But I've spent months keeping you at arm's length, and last night, at dinner, I realized I can't keep pretending. Emily's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't a business evaluation anymore. This wasn't about work. Nathan, she whispered, her eyes searching his. What do you want from me? He let out a breath, as though he'd been holding it in for weeks. I don't know. I'm not good at this. I don't date employees. Hell, I don't date at all. Then why me? He was quiet for a beat. Because you don't look at me like I'm a paycheck or a title. You challenge me. You make me feel human. And just like that, the space between them disappeared. His lips found hers, firm, deliberate, yet hesitant, as though testing the waters of something he wasn't sure he deserved. Emily melted into him, her hands pressing lightly against his chest, his heartbeat pounding through the fabric of his dress shirt. It wasn't wild or rushed. It was slow, deep, and full of a hunger that had been quietly simmering for far too long. But then, Nathan pulled back, breathing hard, forehead against hers. We can't do this, he muttered. Not now. Not here. I know, she whispered. I have to go. She nodded. He turned for the door, but before stepping out, he looked back at her. You've already changed everything, Emily. Then he was gone. And Emily was left standing in the quiet room, heart hammering, her mind spinning faster than it had in years. The next day dawned cool and cloudy in Chicago. Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror, wondering if it had all been a dream. But her lips still tingled from the kiss. And her heart still thudded at the memory of his voice calling her not just another employee. Until Jordan Lee stepped into her office with a smirk. So, he said, leaning against the door, what's the going rate for the CEO's heart these days? Emily frowned. Excuse me? Oh, come on, Emily. The secret dinners. The promotions. The extended trips. Do you think people don't talk? She stood. If you have something to say, Jordan, say it clearly. He stepped closer, his expression sharpening. Let me give you a piece of advice. Nathan Blackwood doesn't fall for people. He uses them. And when the next deal comes along, he'll forget your name just like the rest. Her hands curled into fists. You don't know anything about him. Or me. Jordan laughed softly. We'll see. He left as casually as he entered, but Emily's stomach churned. Not because she believed him, but because she didn't know if Nathan believed in them enough to fight back when the storm came. That night, Emily barged into Nathan's office, eyes blazing. We need to talk. He looked up from his laptop. Close the door. She did. I want to know what happens when the rumors go beyond whispers. When HR comes knocking. When your board starts asking questions. He stood. What brought this on? Jordan. And others like him. They think I'm just another office fling. And you haven't exactly done anything to prove them wrong. Nathan walked toward her, his eyes intense. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection, she said. I need the truth. He exhaled. You want the truth? She nodded. He closed the space between them. I'm falling in love with you, Emily. That's the truth. And it scares the hell out of me. Her breath caught. I don't care about protocol, he continued. I care about you. But I've spent years building a reputation. One crack, just one, and it all falls apart. So yes, I've been cautious. But not because I'm ashamed. Because I know what I stand to lose. And I don't want to lose you too. She stared at him, stunned. You love me? I'm trying not to, he said softly. But I do. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of finally hearing it out loud. I love you too, she whispered. Later that week, everything came crashing down. An anonymous email was sent to HR with photos. Grainy shots of them leaving the hotel in Chicago. A close-up of Nathan brushing her hand in the hallway. A time-stamped image of them at his loft window. And the subject line, inappropriate relationship between CEO and staff member breach of conduct. Nathan was summoned to a closed-door meeting. Emily was interviewed. The board was furious. It didn't matter that they were consenting adults. It didn't matter that Emily had earned her promotion before anything personal had happened. To the board, it was about optics. And to protect the company, someone had to go. Nathan entered Emily's office late that night, his face hard. They want your resignation, he said, voice cold. Emily blinked. What? They're trying to avoid a lawsuit. If you leave quietly, they'll let it go. No scandal. No press. Emily's heart pounded. Are you agreeing to this? No, she exhaled. Because I already told them I'll resign instead. Her eyes widened. Nathan, no. I built this company from scratch, he said. And I'd burn it down if it meant protecting you. But you love this place, not more than I love you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. What will you do? Start something new. On my own terms. With you if you'll still have me. She rushed into his arms. Always. Nathan Blackwood's resignation hit the headlines like a meteor. Blackwood & Co. CEO steps down amid internal controversy. Billion-dollar breakup. Power couple rocks Wall Street. Speculation was rampant. But no one, none of the journalists, analysts, or former employees knew the truth. That Nathan didn't resign because he was caught. He resigned because he was in love. And he was tired of pretending otherwise. Emily sat on the floor of his now empty loft, legs crossed, surrounded by moving boxes. Nathan walked in with 2 coffees and sat beside her. Your name's in every paper, she said, taking the cup. Yours too, he smirked. Some called you a gold digger. Others think we're part of a corporate scandal. She sipped slowly. How do you feel about that? I've never cared less about what people think, he said. That's a first. She smiled, a tired but real one. What now? I've got a name for a startup. Capital. Investors who owe me favors. I'll build something new, he said, then turned to her. But this time, I want you by my side from day one. Not as a junior analyst. As my partner. In business and in life. Her heart skipped. You're serious? He nodded. I don't want a secretary. I want someone who'll challenge me. Push me. Someone who knows how to spot risks and how to trust her gut. That's you. She blinked, overwhelmed. Nathan, I'm flattered, but I'm not offering you a job. I'm offering you ownership. You'd be co-founder. Equal stake. We build this together." The room was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Yes." 6 months later, Blackwell Ventures launched, named from a fusion of both their surnames, a quiet rebellion against the corporate world they'd left behind. It wasn't flashy at first. Just a 2-room office downtown, a small staff, and a whiteboard full of impossible ideas. But within weeks, it became clear something special was happening. Their partnership was magnetic. Emily handled client relations, expansion strategy, and cultural development. Nathan focused on capital growth, investor alignment, and tech innovation. Their chemistry was undeniable. Even in meetings, clients noticed how in sync they were, finishing each other's thoughts, balancing logic with instinct, sharp edges with soft touches. The tension from before, it evolved into deep, genuine understanding. They were building something that felt not just profitable, but real. It wasn't all easy. They faced a legal battle from Blackwood & Co. over Nathan's departure terms and the non-compete clause. Emily received hate mail, online trolling, and even a podcast dedicated to calling her a corporate temptress. But through it all, they didn't break. Nathan shielded her from what he could. Emily confronted the rest with fire in her eyes. They worked 14-hour days, spent weekends writing pitches, missed birthdays and holidays. But neither complained, because they weren't working for each other. They were building with each other. Late one night, Emily lay awake in their new shared apartment, watching Nathan sleep beside her. He looked peaceful, vulnerable in a way few had ever seen him. And yet, that quiet voice in her mind returned. What if it doesn't last? What if you're just a phase? She got up quietly and went into the living room, opened her laptop, stared at the original investor report she'd written back at Blackwood & Co. That report had changed her life. So much had changed since then. She didn't hear him come in until he sat beside her on the couch. "You're not sleeping," he said gently. She shrugged. "Just thinking." He tilted his head. "You're scared." She didn't deny it. "I've spent my life proving I can stand on my own, that I don't need anyone to rescue me. But now, everything I have is tied to us. This company, this home, you." Nathan reached over and took her hand. "Emily," he said softly, "you are always going to build something amazing. With or without me. Then why do I feel like I can't breathe without you? Because that's what love does. It scares you. Because suddenly, someone else matters as much as you do." She looked at him, heart pounding. "What if we fail? Then we fail together," he said. "And we get back up. Together." She leaned into him. And in that moment, the doubts faded. The following quarter, Blackwell Ventures announced a major funding round, $40 million in Series A capital from a Fortune 100 firm. The press couldn't get enough. This time, though, the story wasn't scandal, it was success. And when Nathan and Emily took the stage for a joint interview at a tech summit, the room fell silent. A moderator asked, "How do you balance romance and business?" Nathan looked at Emily, smiled, and said, "It's not about balance. It's about trust. And I've never trusted anyone more than her." The room erupted in applause. Emily looked at him, stunned. And just like that, the fear that had once haunted her disappeared. Because they weren't hiding anymore. They were leading. Together. That evening, after the conference, Nathan took her to the rooftop of their new office building. String lights. A private dinner. Just the two of them. And beneath the stars, Nathan got down on one knee. "I ordered you to go out with me once," he said, smiling. "Worst management decision of my life. But the best personal one." Emily laughed, tears in her eyes. "I'm not your boss anymore. I'm your partner. Your equal. And I want to be your husband." He pulled out a simple, elegant ring. "Marry me, Emily. Not because we work well together, but because I can't imagine this life without you." She didn't hesitate. Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. 6 months later, a soft spring breeze drifted through the open windows of the private estate in upstate New York. Rows of white chairs lined a sprawling green lawn. Rose petals dusted the aisle, and guests murmured excitedly beneath a canopy of golden light. Nathan adjusted his cufflinks, his nerves barely visible. He stood at the altar beneath a trellis of white lilies and eucalyptus, the same flowers Emily loved on their first date. He wasn't used to this kind of attention. Not like this. In business, he commanded rooms, owned every stage. But today, he felt exposed. Because today wasn't about power. It was about surrender. And Emily was the only person he'd ever wanted to surrender to. The music shifted. Everyone turned. Emily appeared at the top of the aisle, arm linked with her father's, her gown simple but radiant. Her hair was pulled back into soft waves, and her smile, shy but certain, struck Nathan harder than any boardroom triumph ever had. He swallowed hard. She was everything. Every risk he ever took led to her. As she walked closer, he could see the tears already in her eyes. Not sadness. Just joy too big for words. When she reached him, her father kissed her cheek and gave Nathan a firm nod. Nathan returned it with quiet gratitude. The officiant began, but the world faded. There were no reporters now. No boardrooms. No whispers or corporate ladders. Just two people. Two souls who had broken rules, risked everything, and fought through fire for each other. Nathan went first. "Emily," he said, voice steady, "I once believed love was a weakness. That control, power, and logic were all I needed. Then you walked into my office and turned my world upside down." The crowd chuckled softly. "You challenged me, called me out, saw through me. And somehow, you still stayed. You taught me that love isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength I've ever known. I promise to fight for us, to build with you, and to never stop choosing you. Even on the hard days." Especially on the hard days, Emily wiped her tears, laughing through them. Then she spoke. "Nathan," she began, "you were the last person I expected to fall for. A man who gave orders like oxygen and smiled once a year. But underneath your walls, I saw your heart. Quiet, fierce, loyal." He grinned. "You taught me I could be powerful and loved, that I didn't have to choose between independence and intimacy. I promised to stand beside you, not behind you, not in front, but always beside, as your partner, your wife, and your forever co-founder." The guest sniffled, dabbed eyes, and beamed. Then came the rings. And the kiss. Long, sure, final. A merger of hearts that no one could ever take down. The evening sparkled. Laughter rang through the vineyard. Old colleagues, friends, and family shared toasts. Even Jordan Lee showed up with an awkward hug and a peace offering, a vintage bottle of scotch. Emily raised an eyebrow at him. "I was wrong," he admitted. "You weren't using him. You were saving him." She nodded, gracious but firm. "Next time, trust the woman." He chuckled. Duly noted. Nathan spent most of the night with his hand on Emily's back or waist, unable to stop touching her as if reminding himself she was real. When the music slowed, he pulled her into a dance under the fairy lights. "No regrets?" she asked, her head against his chest. "Only one," he said, kissing her hair. "What's that?" "That I didn't ask you out sooner." She smiled. "You ordered me," she teased. He laughed. "Right. Worst order I ever gave. Best one I ever followed." Blackwell Ventures had grown into a powerhouse. Their name carried weight. Their portfolio was booming. And their office, now spread across 2 floors, was sleek, inclusive, and buzzing with energy. Emily sat at the conference table, leading a panel on female leadership in tech. Nathan watched from the glass wall, pride glowing in his eyes. Gone was the lonely CEO who kept walls around his heart. This version of him wore his love like a badge. When the panel ended, she walked over, heels clicking confidently. "You were amazing," he said. "I know," she winked. He pulled her in for a quick kiss, ignoring the amused glances from staff nearby. "I have a surprise," he whispered. "Oh," he handed her a folder. She opened it. Inside, plans for a joint venture in Southeast Asia, expanding their brand into education and entrepreneurship, focused on women-led businesses. She looked up at him. "You kept saying we'd build something together," he said. "This is the next chapter." Her eyes shone. "I love you, Nathan." He leaned in. "And I'll spend the rest of my life proving why." That night, they curled up on the couch in their penthouse apartment. No laptops, No phones. Just wine, blankets, and a silent fire. Do you think people still talk about us? Emily asked. Every day. Nathan grinned. We're legends. She laughed. We're a cautionary tale and a fairy tale in one. I like to think of us as a hostile takeover of fate. She shook her head, amused. Still speaking in business metaphors? It's how I flirt. She smiled, curling into him. And as the city pulsed beyond the windows, Nathan whispered the words he had once feared to say. You're not just the love of my life, Emily, he said. You're my forever CEO. She laughed, kissed him, and whispered back. And you'll always be the best risk I ever took.